The verse of the day is Matthew 6:22, and it says, "Your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light." Today's verse, I believe, is super important for us to understand because we have free will, right? Just because you accept Jesus into your heart does not mean you're robotically controlled by God. You still have the choice to choose every day. And so today's verse is really important and key to put into practice because it is directly linked to your free will. Your eyes are the window to your soul, and we have free will to look where we please, to do what we please, to make certain decisions, to create boundaries or to not, to follow the way God calls us to live or to not. And today's verse makes it super clear that what you choose to look at, the things you choose to do, the people you surround yourself with will determine how healthy you're gonna be in your soul, in your walk, and in your ability to follow God confidently. Today's verse kind of reminds me of when Peter was walking on water. He was walking on water because his eyes were on Jesus. The moment he took his eyes off of Jesus and looked at the storm, he started to sink. Wherever he was looking filled him with either fear or faith. This is why it's so important to be in your word every day, to spend time with God every day, because you're giving attention to truth, to light. You're reminding yourself about what's true. Human beings have a forgetful problem. We forget. This is why we need constant reminders. This is why God gave us this book, because every day we have to remember, because the devil every day will try to get us to forget, will try to get us to change our mind. We need daily reminders, and we need to daily keep our eyes on Jesus, daily fill our body with light, because free will enters the picture every single day. We can give our attention to something that's not full of light, that isn't good for us, and we can be filled with darkness in that moment because we're opening the door to something that isn't good for us. This is why it's important to protect your eyes from watching horror movies. You might be like, why do I have nightmares? Why do I experience all of this fear after I look at something so dark? If you give your attention to dark things, you're going to be filled with those dark things and those dark thoughts. And that's when you can let fear grip at you. And that's when you can agree with lies that fear will tell you. This is why porn is so detrimental, because you're looking at evil. It fills your body with evil. And then you might be like, well, why is it evil? Think about who God is. God is love. The motive behind everything that God says is love. The reason why porn is not loving is because the motive isn't to love. The motive is to gain love for yourself. It's actually a selfish motive. And at the same time, you're objectifying human beings, and that's not loving. If you want to understand if you have pure motives, check your motive with anything that you're doing. Are you looking to gain, or are you living from love? Are you giving love? Are you functioning out of an overflow of knowing you're already loved? And the love you're trying to gain with doing something like that is a need that God can meet for you, because really most of the world is lonely, wanting love, wanting to feel chosen and seen, and sex and porn and all of that meets that need. It makes you feel loved for a moment. It fills that need for a moment, but you always want more, which is why you get addicted to it, and why it's a temporary pleasure and a counterfeit pleasure the devil wants you to think is something that you need or is okay to do, because he wants your whole body to be filled with darkness. He wants you to get to a point where it ruins your view of something God created to be beautiful. Self-control is the fruit of the Spirit. And so if you don't have self-control in any area of your life, you are bound to something. And that is prison. If you're bound to something because you don't have self-control to stop, and your body forces you to do things you don't want to do anymore, and you don't know how to get out of it, that isn't freedom. That's called prison. And Jesus can set you free from any of that bondage. It's just turning your eyes to Jesus, choosing to see that your eyes are the window to your soul, choosing to see that God can set you free from that and actually meet that need in a way that's sustainable and life-giving and fruitful. Sin is missing the mark. Missing the mark means you're missing love, because God is love. When you look at things that are evil and dark, it taints your soul, because it's you focusing on what's not love. And Our mind is so fragile. We need to protect our mind. This is why there's Bible verses that say you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can either be transformed into light or to darkness because of free will. Every day you can look more and more like Jesus if you're focusing on truth and your eyes are on light and you're choosing to be obedient. Every day you can be transformed into something dark and bound and full of lies because you can open the door to what you choose. The good news though is if you have opened the door to the latter, you always have a choice to change your mind. You always have a choice to be transformed by the renewing of your mind and choose light and follow Jesus because there's always hope with Jesus. The thing about the devil is he will try to get you to feel hopeless in every area of your life. Jesus makes you feel hopeful because there's always opportunity to change and things to be redeemed and restored if we choose his way. So if you're someone who has opened the door and you feel like you're kind of stuck in certain ways, please know you have an opportunity to always turn your light back on and to choose Jesus and to be filled with light, to have your body be filled with light and to be restored in your mind, because that's what Jesus does, is he restores and redeems and he saves. Today's verse kind of reminds me of John 15:5, and it says, "Remain in me and I will remain in you, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine." If your lamp isn't plugged in, if you're not connected to the vine, if you're not connected to Jesus on a daily basis, you're not going to bear fruit. You're not going to be able to know what it feels like to be filled with light every day. You have to keep yourself plugged in, because if you get unplugged, your light can so easily dim. Just like when Peter was walking on water, he took his eyes off Jesus. He got unplugged for a minute and he started to sink. The good news though is that Jesus still saved him. Jesus still grabbed him up, even in the midst of his unbelief and his doubt and him taking his eyes off of Jesus and onto the storm. Jesus still saved him. So you can still be saved. You can still choose to keep your light on and to start to feed your body with light, to keep your eyes on things that are good for you, to read God's word, to be filled with truth so that you can bear that same fruit and maintain your freedom, because you won't be bound to anything. You're just going to be keeping your eyes on the one that keeps helping you grow and bear more fruit and have more freedom. That's true life. Your eye is like a lamp. So ask yourself, where am I allowing things that aren't good for me into me through the things that I watch and the things that I look at? And where can I create better boundaries for myself so that I can protect the light that I have within? Or where can I turn from my ways and decide to create new boundaries for myself to maintain the light or turn the light back on? Okay?